Khaled was 26, quiet, and tired of the city. After years of noise and stress, he found a cheap apartment at the edge of a small, forgotten town. The place was old, faded wallpaper, wooden floors that creaked like they had memories. But it was peaceful, or at least it seemed that way. He spent his first day unpacking in silence. The only sounds were the occasional groan of the building and the wind brushing against the windows. The town outside felt frozen in time. No cars, no voices, just stillness. That night, Khaled sat on his bed, scrolling through his phone with heavy eyelids. He paused when he noticed something odd on the floor near the edge of the bed. Deep scratch marks, as if someone or something had clawed at the wood. Long, thin, unnatural. He knelt down and ran his fingers across them. Weird, he muttered. Probably just the last tenant's dog or something. But as he stood up, he felt it, that strange sensation like someone was behind him, watching. He turned quickly. Nothing, just his empty room, dimly lit by a flickering ceiling light. Brushing it off, Khaled switched off the light and crawled into bed. The silence returned, heavier this time. Still, he closed his eyes and let himself drift off. Outside his bedroom window, just beyond the trees, a shadow moved. And waited. A sharp chill crawled down Khaled's spine. He opened his eyes slowly. The room was dark, lit only by the pale blue glow of his phone charging on the nightstand. He reached for it, 3:12 a.m. His heart beat a little faster. Something had woken him, but he didn't know what. Then he noticed it. The air felt wrong, too cold, too still, like the room was holding its breath. Then came the sound. Wet, raspy, breathing. Khaled froze in bed, afraid to move, eyes scanning the room. At first, there was nothing. Then, from a far corner near the closet, a shape began to take form. Black, tall, thin. It stepped forward slowly, revealing a face, or rather, a mask. Blue, smooth, featureless, except for two large, black holes where eyes should be. But there were no eyes, just dark, bleeding sockets. Eyeless Jack. Khaled's breath caught in his throat. His body refused to move. Jack tilted his head slightly, as if studying him. In his hand glinted a small, sharp scalpel. He took a step forward. Khaled's body finally responded. He rolled off the bed just as the scalpel slashed through his pillow, tearing the fabric where his head had just been. Panic surged through his veins. He crawled across the floor and lunged to the door, not daring to look back. Behind him, the soft, wet breathing continued, along with slow, deliberate footsteps. Jack wasn't chasing. He was hunting. Khaled slammed the door shut behind him and ran down the hallway, barefoot, heart pounding, with only one thought in his mind. Get out. Now. Khaled stumbled into the hallway, his breath ragged, sweat pouring down his face. He looked back. The bedroom door was still closed, but behind it, he could hear the soft scrape of fingernails dragging slowly across the wood. Then a whisper. Low. Wet. Wrong. You're not supposed to be awake. His stomach twisted. Khaled didn't wait. He ran to the kitchen, nearly slipping on the tile. He fumbled with the window lock and yanked it open. Outside, the fire escape was slick with dew and rust. He threw one leg out and began to climb down, his hand shaking. As he reached the second rung, a sound made him freeze. The bedroom door creaked open. Khaled looked up just in time to see Jack's silhouette step into the hallway, mask gleaming faintly under the kitchen light. Even from a distance, Khaled could feel those empty sockets locked onto him. Jack moved, fast. Khaled's pulse exploded. He dropped the last few feet and hit the ground hard, pain shooting up his ankle. No time. He ran, limping, toward the woods behind the building, the only cover he could find. But as he crossed the parking lot, something clattered behind him. He glanced back. Jack was already at the edge of the fire escape and descending. Khaled turned and ran harder than he ever had in his life, vanishing into the trees, the shadows swallowing him whole. But behind him, Jack followed, not running, just walking, and somehow always getting closer. Branches whipped across Khaled's face as he ran deeper into forest. His lungs burned, and his injured ankle throbbed with every step. But he didn't dare stop. Behind him, though hidden by the trees, he could feel Eyeless Jack, like a shadow stitched to his fear. There were no birds, no wind, only the crunch of dead leaves beneath his feet, and the occasional gut-chilling sound of wet breathing always too close. Khaled slipped down a slope, tumbling through the brush, finally landing on hard, damp earth. He groaned and looked up, and there it was, an old hunter's cabin, half swallowed by vines and rot. The windows were boarded, the door slightly ajar. No lights, no sounds. He had no choice. Khaled pulled himself up and limped inside, slamming the door shut and locking it with rusted bolt. The cabin smelled of mildew and old wood. Dust floated in the air like ash. In the corner, under a tarp, he found it, a hunting rifle. Ancient but intact. One shell lay beside it. Hands trembling, Khaled loaded the gun and dropped to the floor, pressing his back to the wall. He aimed at the door and waited. Minutes passed. Then footsteps. Slow, careful, getting closer. The doorknob turned once, twice. Then slowly, the door creaked open. A figure stepped in. Tall, masked, bleeding from the eyes. Khaled didn't hesitate. He pulled the trigger. The blast shattered the silence. Jack's body collapsed, hitting the wooden floor hard. Smoke curled from the rifle's barrel. Khaled stared, heart racing. It was over, or so he thought. He stepped closer to the body and froze. There was nothing inside the clothes, just black goo and the blue mask. Suddenly, a whisper floated through the air, cold and close. You can't kill what you can't see. Absolutely. Here's the final chapter of the story. Khaled backed away from the mask on the floor, his chest rising and falling with shallow breaths. The black ooze around it pulsed once, then sank into the wooden boards like it was alive. The rifle slipped from his hands. He turned and ran from the cabin, through the trees, the forest no longer silent. Whispers now swirled around him, his name, spoken in dozens of voices that sounded like they came from inside his own head. Khaled, you're awake. You're not supposed to be awake. He didn't stop running until the sky began to pale with the approach of dawn. The forest spat him out near a rural road, where a passing truck finally picked him up. He didn't say much, just muttered something about a break-in. The driver didn't ask questions. He had seen that haunted look before. Khaled never returned to the apartment. He rented a room in a noisy part of the city, cars, sirens, yelling neighbors. Anything to drown out the silence. Anything to keep him awake. But the real nightmare wasn't over, because every time he closed his eyes, even for a moment, he saw that blue mask hovering in the dark. And sometimes when the world went quiet, he'd hear the whisper again. You can't kill what you can't see. Now, Khaled sleeps with all the lights on, the TV blaring, the windows locked tight. But it doesn't help. Eyeless Jack is still out there, waiting, watching, and next time, Khaled might not wake up.